Dr. Brent.
Dr. Morgentaler.
Here we are, another episode of The Sex Doctors.
Yes.
And I can't wait to talk about what we're going to talk about today.
Okay. We're going to talk about what women don't understand about men sexually.
Yeah. Now, many of you who are watching might think this is like one of the slimmest, like if it was a book, it'd be one of the slimmest books ever, right? But there's stuff like everybody thinks that men are simple.
Yeah.
We may be simpler than women. I don't think we're simple.
No, I would agree with you.
Yeah. So let's go.
Okay.
What do women not understand about men, especially sexually?
Before we start, a small disclaimer. The Sex Doctors podcast is not a substitute for medical or psychological advice.
Okay. Well, there are many things. So I just kind of like thought of a few that I thought might be particularly interesting to talk about today. One is that despite engaging in the same exact behavior sexually, men and women can experience it differently, which means like men can experience it differently than women can. So often what happens is everybody, men and women both, will sort of understand their experience and use that as the bar to compare everyone else's experience of sex, right?
Right.
So women will do that and men will do it too, but at any rate, like in spite of the fact that the behavior's the same, the experience is very different.
Right. And we tend to think that whatever I'm experiencing, everybody else must experience it the same way.
Right.
Right.
When I'm lecturing about this, the example I give, which really brings this point home, is going to a strip club. So, right. So you go,
Yeah.
you know exactly where, right. So you go to a strip.
No, I don't know where you're going, and I can't wait to hear.
Oh, okay. So you go to a strip club where there are women dancers. What's going on in there?
Right.
Well, the guys, for the most part, there's an occasional bachelor party and they're being silly and stupid, right?
Yeah.
Most of the men in there are serious.
Yeah, they're on a mission.
It is not a joke, right? They're not looking around. They're not laughing. They're getting their needs met, right? They're there for a reason and it's not funny.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you go to a strip club where there are guys stripping and there are women, majority of women in the audience.
Yeah.
What are they doing? They're cracking up. They're drinking and laughing and having fun.
Right. There's a place near Boston for the women called the Golden Banana.
Seriously?
Yeah. I don't know if it's open every night. I think it's weekends or something like that.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've been in there.
So the women, no, I've never been in. Thank you very much. But, right, but the women are going. It's a group experience.
Oh, it's fun.
Right?
They're having fun.
Right.
It's silly.
They're playing it out.
They're being crazy.
It's a little risque.
Right.
Yeah, there are some men who go, especially if they go with friends or sometimes for business, who go to strip clubs where the idea is also to just have a good time.
Yeah, but it's not that same level of silly. Like clearly you have not been in one of these clubs because it's just women are just cracking up.
Now women go to strip clubs too.
And that's different. When a woman goes to a strip club where women are dancing, oftentimes they're not laughing either. They're not as serious as the guys in general.
Not as serious.
No. But they're not as silly as if they went to see the guys.
Right.
But the point being, so at this point, everybody goes on occasion to a strip club, let's say.
Yeah.
But men's experience in that club is by far more serious than a woman's experience in the club. Back to the point of the topic, the podcast today. So it's the same behavior, very different experience. But men and women experience like porn differently. Like just because they each watch porn, it doesn't mean it's the same experience for them. So I just think that's important for women to understand that it may look the same on the outside, but it is not the same on the inside.
Yeah.
No one's right or wrong. It's just different.
I got one, and it's kind of an offshoot of what you're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah. Sex for men is a powerful drive.
Mm-hmm.
And when we say drive, it's this deep part of the brain that's as powerful as other drives like thirst and hunger.
Mm-hmm.
We can socialize it out of ourselves to a certain extent, right? But it's powerful. And I think more powerful as a general comment than it is in women even if women might have the same frequency of sexual encounters as men, it's a different thing. It's a different intensity. There have been studies that have shown that men shown at very long distances, these tiny silhouettes of women, just the silhouette, like a black outline, like it makes their brains pop, right? Like they pay attention. And, and so women sometimes will be out with a man in public and there's a common refrain like, Jesus, will you stop looking? Like it's offensive to me. And that's understandable. But what women may not appreciate is how powerful that urge is. It's not like a conscious thing, like I want to disrespect the woman I'm with. It's that there's a powerful thing that's going on that makes him want to look, that makes him turn his head. And women hate it, of course.
Yeah, so that's even, I think, a slightly different issue because I think people are evolutionarily inclined to look at female sexuality like when it's presented, when it's served up on a platter. Everybody looks. So it's not just guys, it's just that it's irritating to the women when the guys look. But I think that's an evolutionary drive for everybody.
Well, I like the fact that you say that, but what I would suggest to you is that the power behind it is stronger. And the reason I say it's stronger is because women may look, but I think it takes more for them to look than it does for men.
That makes sense. That's a good
which
point.
isn't to excuse men for when they do it. It's just to understand that when the man really is paying attention to the woman, he's being disciplined.
Okay, yeah.
He's disciplining himself to not look.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Because there's a drive to look. It's just there.
Yeah.
And even if it's out of the corner of his eye, he wants to be checking it out. Again, not saying he should.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Thank you for clarifying.
Okay, that was mine.
Yeah.
Another one?
Yeah, I got one. I think that it's pretty common for me to hear in my practice, at least, that guys say, the way I feel love is through sex.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't really hear that from women so much, but I hear it from men a lot. And women will be like, what are you talking about? Like sex and love, these are different things. And how is it that you only feel love through sex? Right. But honestly, I've heard it so much throughout my career that my response is generally like, that's just kind of like, that's how it is. Like, that's not uncommon for guys. And there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't mean that something's wrong with him, that he doesn't feel love in other ways. That's just the guy's way. I'm curious about your reaction to that.
Listen, I think that that's a very important observation and one that I think women would do well to pay attention to because I think that there's a lot to that.
Yeah.
And I had one that's really, again, like an offshoot of that, which is that men have feelings too.
Oh.
But our training in life is to not show them. So not only do we not show them, but we're even taught really to not even feel them.
Yeah.
And so and when men are with men, as a general rule, there's no vulnerability shown, right?
Right.
We don't talk about our failures by and large. Now, there's some guys who are able to have really good friendships with other men where they feel like they can, but I think that's the exception to the rule.
Yeah.
And it's brave to do that too.
Yeah, for sure.
And certainly around women, men are supposed to be strong. That's our training, social training. And so the one place where men can be, if you want to call it vulnerable, let's call it vulnerable. I'm not sure it really captures all of it, but is around sexuality, tenderness, affection, right? And even the loss of control that happens with orgasm makes some guys, I had patients, not many, one comes to mind, I'm sure I had several, who would not orgasm with a woman. And he was very clear about why. And he says, I don't want anybody to see me with that level of loss of control. I don't want to be vulnerable. And he'd had some tough experiences in his life, and it was understandable. But the point is that the loss of control with orgasm, or men make facial expressions, they make sounds, their body does some spasmodic things. That's a kind of vulnerability for guys
For sure.
that doesn't happen in any realm of their life except for there.
And so, sort of to connect the two, then they feel like if they're able to be that vulnerable, they feel love. Like that.
That's right.
That makes total
That's
sense.
exactly right.
Yeah. And so what I think is this is important when couples have a desire discrepancy and the person with lower desire, often the woman, is like, this, why can't he just masturbate? Or why do we have to be like sort of so worried about this all the time? But if that's how he feels love, like we wouldn't take that away from her either. How does she feel love? We wouldn't say, we're going to like ignore that for you. Like you don't need that.
Right.
Need met. So I think it's just important difference.
Yeah. Masturbation, not all ejaculations are the same.
Uh-huh.
Masturbation is not the same as having a sexual relationship with somebody.
Right.
They're not the same.
No.
And they don't matter the same.
Yeah. They're not experienced as the
They're
same.
not experienced the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. They can both be excellent experiences,
But they're different.
but they're different.
Right. And you're not, if you're masturbating to porn or whatever you're doing, you're not feeling love or connection in that experience.
Correct. You're just
Right.
getting off.
Yeah, you're getting off.
Yeah.
And there's a role for that, but
Yeah.
nonetheless. Okay.
Yeah. I have one more.
So do I.
Oh, okay. I'll go.
Okay.
Something that women may not appreciate about men,
Uh-huh.
stress is real.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that is that, when men are 18, they can get the hardest erection ever on the worst day of their lives. Right?
Yeah.
On the worst day of their lives. They could have lost a loved one or whatever. They can still get hard.
Yeah.
But as men get, especially as men get into their 30s and above, the situation needs to be more and more perfect for them because they lose what I would call sort of reserves.
Ah.
They lose reserve power. And so when men are feeling stressed, generally, by work or whatever else is going on, finances, etc., they may not be feeling very sexual. There's a stereotype that is completely incorrect that I write about in my book, The Truth About Men and Sex, where the men are always ready to go.
Yeah.
Guess what? They're not. And I remember one patient who came to see me because he was having trouble having sex with his wife. And then we're talking, and sort of he was of the right age. He was probably 60 or 65, and I'm getting ready to talk to him about Viagra, Cialis, whatever else. And then he throws in this little story that goes with it. But you know what's strange, doctor, is that we have a country house. And my wife and I go out there every weekend. It's like my favorite place to be. And just as he was a business guy, stressful work, he says, just as we're driving out there, I feel more relaxed. And we never have trouble. I never have trouble having a good erection on the weekend in our country house.
Yeah.
It's only in the city.
Yeah.
It was a complete stress response. So for women who don't understand why their husband or their partner, male partner, may not be completely into sex on a certain night, it could be that he's stressed.
Okay. And not even talking about it or not aware of it
No,
himself?
because guys don't talk.
Yeah. Well, you talk.
Guys tend to not talk. And sometimes they don't even know that there's something that's bothering.
Yeah, I think
the
that's
thing.
right. Yeah.
And so that patient that I was talking to you about, he didn't put two and two together.
Yeah.
He told me this funny, this curious little aside that there's this one circumstance where it works out, but he didn't recognize that it had to do with the stress of his everyday life.
Yeah. Get it. I get it.
You.
Okay, last one is that I think that what women don't understand about men sexually is that it can be difficult to be erect for the right amount of time.
Ah,
So that's arousal.
yeah.
So what we kind of say to men indirectly is you've got to get hard this quickly and stay hard this long, but not longer than that. So you've got a window to work with. And it might be you need to be erect within 1 or 2 minutes of foreplay, but then you need to have your orgasm within 20 minutes of, sex, whatever. So that's actually anxiety provoking. And we don't do that to women. We don't say, you need to be aroused within 1 to 2 minutes of foreplay, and then you need to be done. No more arousal after 15, 20 minutes, whatever it is, right? So I think that that's very anxiety provoking. We're so used to having those rules for men that men don't even realize they're dealing with it, and women don't realize they're putting them on guys. But I think it's really challenging.
Very good. As many a comedian has said in the past, it's all about timing.
No.
Dr. Brandon, this has been great talking to you about the things that women don't understand fully about men, especially sexually.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thus ends another podcast of the Sex Doctors.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all that's left to do is to say
Au revoir.
au revoir. Bye-bye.